Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Magistus Yugioh deck profile for post-Lightning Overdrive. For those of you that don't know, the Magistus deck is more of a deck that focuses on special summoning out a bunch of different level 4 spellcaster monsters, and then going into a bunch of different monsters in the X deck, including Synchros, Xyz, Link monsters, and also Fusion. It's a really interesting deck that focuses on the equipping of the different monsters from the X deck onto the different Magistus monsters we have. And with the release of Lightning Overdrive, we were given a new Xyz monster, so I figured an update was due for the deck since the release of Genesis Impact. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main deck monsters, ideally I do want to run 3 Rilliona, the Magistus of Vare. I only have 2, sadly. This is one of the more pricier cards, being more of a staple for a bunch of different spellcaster decks. So if you don't have this card, you can always replace it with Star Drawing until you get more copies. But with it, if this card is normal or special summon, you can activate one of these effects. You can add 1 Magistus spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or you can return one of your banished level 4 or lower spellcaster monsters to your graveyard. And you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your graveyard, except a level 4 monster. You can only use each effect of Rilliona, the Magistus of Vare, once per turn. So having search power or just set up for recycling all of your different spellcaster Magistus monsters back into the graveyard or to re-equip onto your monsters is definitely useful for that search power. So a definite 3 of, because like I said, the main majority of our plays in the deck fall in the form of Xyz monsters, with one of our new one being Rilliona, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe, and also the different Link monsters we have options to go into, including also Synchro and Fusion altogether, depending on the play you want to go for. This card and search power for the many different spell cards we run very much do come in handy. For our tuner that we run in the deck for our Synchro plays, I also run 3 Zorora, the Magistus of Flame. You can target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip it with a Magistus monster from your extra deck. If this card becomes equipped with a Magistus monster card, you can special summon 1 level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except Zorora, the Magistus of Flame, but its effects are negated. And you can only use each effect of Zorora, the Magistus of Flame, once per turn. So with this card special summon setup, you have the option to then special summon out another Magistus monster onto the field, and then either go for the Xyz summon, or since the fact that Zorora is a tuner monster, a Synchro, if you have the spell for the Fusion, you have all these different available options, and another 3 of, just for that consistency of easy special summon. And then it also negates the monster's effect, so it just doesn't have the benefit of, the search power, but still just the option of giving you a resource to use for your extra deck plays. I also run 3 Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoires. You can send 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. You can declare 1 attribute, and this card becomes that attribute until the end of this turn. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your graveyard, except a level 4 monster. And you can only use each effect of Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoire, once per turn. So they get around the level 4 part for the fact that they don't want you equipping just all the other main deck monsters. They want you using your extra deck monsters for these cards, but the fact that it can be a spellcaster monster from your hand or face up on the field just gives you an easy special summon, and then setting up more resources in your graveyard to use with Crowley, and then once again being the main focal point for more search power along with Zorora and also your Rilliona for all of your different plays. For the last of the Magistus main deck monsters, I also run 3 Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery. You can target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip it with a Magistus monster from your extra deck. Then you can target 1 face-up spell you control, destroy it, and if you do, draw 1 card. Then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect of Endymion once per turn. Another 3 of, so you have the resources available to go into, with our continuous spell being Trismegistus, a continuous spell for more additional search setup. But this is more for recycle power. You can go through the deck a lot faster using this card, and just like I said, all the different resources for your Magistus monsters is why I like to rely on playsets of each one. For some additional spellcaster support, because with with the lineup that we're running, it is a pretty different generic lineup, just needing level 4 spellcasters for the new Riliona, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe, or even just 2 level 4 spellcasters for the Nino Ruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess. Having different spellcasters for that setup is an easy use, so I'm running 2 Perform Mage Damage Juggler, 1 Perform Mage Trick Clown, and 1 Perform Mage Hat Tricker. Just having this engine in the deck gives you easy special summon options and search power, with the form of Damage Juggler also being able to reduce damage, special summoning out Hat Trigger very easily by having 2 monsters on the field, and Trick Clown just having to spend 1,000 life points to special summon it back into the field to use, giving you, once again, like I said, resources for your Synchro, Xyz, Fusion play, you name it. The requirements for even the Fusion play is just 1 Magistus monster and 1 Spellcaster monster, so any of these cards can fit the Spellcaster role, as long as you have another Magistus monster on the field to use also. I also run 2 Jester Confit. Now, this is in the deck more for helping to get out our Link monster, which is Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. It just needs 1 level 4 lower spellcaster monster. With Jester Confit being able to be a special summon onto the field, it can then have that option to go into the Link monster and not take up our normal summon, which we can use to summon out another Magistus monster from our hand onto the field to use as a resource. I'm going to run the 2, though. If you don't use it for the special summon, it can also just be a good engine for relying on draw power with cards like Spellbook of Knowledge, or even just being a fusion material for our Iwas, just needing a spellcaster monster and a Magistus monster, not any specific levels for this card. For the last of the spellcasters, for the hand trap option, I decided to go with Effect Veiler for the deck, once again being able to stop a good number of our opponent's monster effects, but also meeting the spellcaster requirement if we need for our plays, and that's why I chose it over Ash Blossom. Since Ash Blossom isn't a spellcaster, it wouldn't really work well with the synergy of all the other different spellcaster monsters we run in the deck. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Triz Magistus. The first time each Magistus monster equipped with an equip card will be destroyed by battle each turn. It is not destroyed. You can only use 1 of the following effects of Triz Magistus once per turn, and only once that turn. During the main phase, you can special summon 1 level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand, and you can send this face-up card to the graveyard to special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand. So we run the majority of the different ones. That's why it's always good to have the playset, so you have a good majority of opening up a bunch of differently named ones, because then you can just summon them out onto the field using your Triz Magistus, and also for the fact that it lets you special summon 1 by sending it, or even just during your main phase. For that option, you have plenty to work with if you just go for the special summon. This can also be the resource used with your Endymion to basically set up more draw power with the deck altogether. For some of the lower numbers for the Magistus cards, I also run 2 Magistus Invocation. This is the fusion spell. You fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a spellcaster monster. If summoning a Magistus fusion monster, this way you can also use monsters in your spell and trap card zone that are equipped to a Magistus monster, and you can only activate 1 Magistus Invocation once per turn. So this resource, and with the majority of the fusions that we're going to be summoning anyway being a Magistus monster, meaning if we have a card that is equipped to a Magistus monster we have on the field, that can be the fusion resource, meaning just having that and the equip card be the cost needed to go into our fusion monster. I only run 2 of it, though, with fusion just being a part of our plays in the deck. You really only need the 2 for our setup, with some of the other plays being 2 Magistus Vritra. That you target 1 level 4 lower Magistus monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if a Magistus card is in your spell and trap card zone, it will be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect of Magistus Vritra once per turn. Protection for the cards on the field, but also special summoning. When you have your resources quickly being eaten away by Triz Magistus, you can then summon them back onto the field using Magistus Vritra, being able to basically, like I said, detach off the Xyz monster that you make with Triz Magistus, or even just have the Synchro material or the Fusion material or the Link material in the graveyard, being able to summon it back onto the field to continue your plays with this spell card. I also run 2 Magistus Theurgy. It's a quick play spell. You target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip it with 1 Magistus monster except for a level 4 monster from your extra deck, graveyard, or face-up on the field. If you have at least 1 Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link monster in your graveyard, you can equip it with 1 non-Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster from your extra deck instead. You can only activate one Magistus Thurgy once per turn. So the main equip effect of the deck can be easily made with this card, just giving you the additional option to equip, and then giving you more setup with a bunch of the other cards we already spoke of with all of the different extra deck monsters. We do run a good number of the extra deck monsters, so we always have the option to go into those resources depending on if we need a Synchro, Xyz, Fusion, Link monster, you name it. For more of the generic support, I also run 3 Spellbook of Knowledge with the, all the monsters in the main deck being spellcasters, just having this as an engine to send a spellcaster we control to the graveyard to give us to draw, can give us resources to open up to more plays, whether it be drawing into our invocation spell, our Trismegistus for more special summoning, and setting up the spellcaster in the graveyard. All the options available with this draw power card, Spellbook of Knowledge. I also run 2 Secret Village of Spellcaster, another way to shut down your opponent's plays by making it so they can't activate spells as long as you control a spellcaster monster, and also the 1 Terraforming. I only run 2 Secret Village. It doesn't really provide much if you open up multiples of this card. It's more of a minus that way, so just opening 2 of this card and then being able to search it and thin out the deck with Terraforming is a big plus there for that play. I also now, for the one-ofs for these spells, run 1 Upstart Goblin, more draw power, just being able to go through the deck quite quickly with all our different search, including the Perfamage and all the different Magistus monsters. 1 Foolish Burial to set up more of the monsters in the graveyard to either summon back with Trismegistus or any of our other spells. 1 Monster Reborn for the same principle as our Magistus spell, and 1 Call by the Grave to shut down our opponent's plays or any of their hand traps they may try to use on us to stop our own special summons. And that is it for the main deck. Not running any traps. I just feel like when you can get your extra deck monsters summoned out that much more quickly, that's really all you need for your initial setup plays. For the extra deck monsters, we'll start off with the Xyz monsters. I run 1 of the new Riliona, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe. It's definitely a tongue twister at that. We need 2 level 4 spellcaster monsters with drifting attributes to make it, with all of the main deck ones being water, dark, fire, and light. Quite easy to summon this card out using your Magistus monsters. You can detach 1 material from this card to special summon 1 Magistus monster from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Magistus monsters. And while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target 1 effect monster you control. Your opponent controls negates effects until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Riliona, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe, once per turn. So more setup, giving you a special summon for detaching a material from this card from your deck. Just gives you another Magistus resource to whether go into a Fusion, Synchro, or Link summon. And the fact that we are not limited with the Link monster zone anymore, we can just summon out all these main deck monsters, Synchro, Fusion, Xyz, in the main monster zone without having to use Link arrows is an added bonus. And the fact that we can just set up Artemis with its pointing upward Link arrow and still summon out all these other cards onto the field. I also run 2 Nina Ruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess. If you want to swap out 1 of these cards for a second Riliona, that's always an option as well. I feel Riliona might just have a little bit more setup with Magistus Glass Goddess, focusing more on an equip play for all of the options to go into. I also run now for the Link monsters 3 of the Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. You just need 1 level 4 lower spellcaster monster to make this card. If another Magistus monster is normal or special summon while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target 1 of those monsters, equip this card you control to it, and while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add 1 Magistus monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each of the following effects of Artemis once per turn, and you can only special summon 1 Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden, once per turn, but just a 1-of card to rely on to summon out your cards, giving you search power, and like I said, with all the different spellcasters we have, a very easy Link monster to make, and then summon out another Magistus monster to give you more plays for your search power, and then equipping it onto that card can meet the requirements for all of our other equipped Magistus monsters. I also run 1 Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians, just a good Link 3 spellcaster option for giving you more and more setup on the field. For the other Link monsters, I also run 1 Lena the Light Charmer, Lustrous, and 1 Area the Water Charmer, Gentle. You can go for the Earth option or Flame option for Hida as well, but I prefer these 2 in the deck just because we run the Riliona, Magistus of Vare, and also our Endymion, both being water and light attributes, just as my preference to use. I also run 1 Boral Sword Dragon, just having another Link for boss monster option to rely on in the deck. For the synchro monsters, I run 2 of the Varam, the Magistus Divinity Dragon, needing 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner. And when this card is an equipped card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell and trap effects. And you can only use each of the following effects of Varam once per turn. If this synchro summoned card is destroyed, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. And at the start of damage step, if the monster that this card is equipped to battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. Just being more of a protection dragon on the field against your opponent's cards. Very, very useful for the equipped or even just being a destruction card to level a monster. For the other synchro, I run 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, just another good one to summon out onto the field with all the different link monsters we have. Being able to even just have a link 1 equipped onto it is enough of a counter to stop one of your opponent's cards. And for the fusion, we already spoke of it before, but 2 of the Iwas Magistus Spell Spirit. Another easy fusion, just needing a Magistus monster and 1 spellcaster to summon out onto the field, and then having more of the equip option for our opponent's monsters, being able to stop them by basically taking control of the equipped monster. Also cannot activate its effects. And then as for the go-to plays, it really just relies on what Magistus monster you summon out onto the field. Starting off with that play, being able to then return or add a Magistus spell, can add the Trismegistus to our hand, activating this card, which then if you have the additional level 4 spellcaster in your hand, being able to special summon it, you can summon out any of these spellcasters, even if you open up your Damage Juggler or one of the other ones. Summoning it onto the field, depending on what you have, can then give you the option if you summon out cards like Zora, a synchro, or most of the time going into the new Xyz monster, which then we can use for the detach play, being able to detach that monster, and then special summon another Magistus monster from our deck to the field. You can summon out Endymion. Endymion can then get rid of the Trismegistus spell to have more of a special summon option, being able to target that also by basically going for the equipped and then destroy it to draw 1 card for that setup. The equipped cost for this will also help for the additional target of a Magistus monster and equip one from your extra deck onto that card, giving our Riliona we have on the field the equipped option of one of the other ones we have in the extra deck. For more of the options with our Jester Confit, just being able to summon out this card onto the field with a special summon and not take away our normal summon means we can go for the Link 1 option of Artemis and then still normal summon out another Magistus monster, giving us the play for that monster, but also being able to equip Artemis onto that card and giving us an additional search from the main deck to our hand of a differently named Magistus monster. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Just like some of the other cards from the Genesis Impact, this was one of the newly supported decks to get support, so I was definitely happy to finally update it when I got the new Xyz monster. And until next time, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.